Hey everybody, my name is Clifford and I am back for a brand new video. I do apologize for the long wait. I was actually originally trying to work on another video and trying to gather everything down and make sure everything was set up and ready. Unfortunately, I decided to hold off on that one until basically after the Straw Hats, or basically the East Blue crew, along with Chopper, managed to basically escape from where they were at. So I'll probably do that video next. But I decided to take a pause from that and actually talk about something else, alright? And I was wanting to actually talk about this, but I also thought it might, maybe not be important like that. I've already talked about this so many times. But what I'm actually going to be discussing here is I'm going to do one more idea for a name video for Nami, right? So I've made hundreds of videos on Nami about her names like that. And I've made like hundreds of videos on Nami's in general. So yeah, a whole bunch of them. But what I'm actually going to be doing here is that I actually think it could be really interesting if there is one family name that we can really tie to Nami, right? Now, some people might find it to be ridiculous. Some people might find it to be impossible. Some people might even find it to not really, might not be for them, right? And truth be told, I come up with so many ideas that I would feel very comfortable if any of those options were correct, right? Like, this isn't necessarily me disproving, or not necessarily disproving, but me, basically not suggesting that what I've suggested before, or what I've enjoyed before, is no way in shape or form for me to actually change my opinion on those matters, okay? I just want to basically throw something else into the list, alright? So instead of it just throwing everything out, I want to basically add in I want to basically add in a new one, right? I want to basically add more fuel to the fire to see which one actually burns the brightest, or burns the hottest in this case, okay? Alright. Now, before I really get into it, alright? I want to actually go over something first, alright? Because I feel like it could be very important for the narrative ahead, alright? Alright. So, this is something I want to go over first, alright? I want to go over different readings of Japanese kanji and stuff like that. Now, some of these things aren't probably more common nowadays, and they're probably only used in certain scenarios, or they were basically different readings based on different characters from other languages, alright? So, the first one I want to mention here is the Kan Yun reading, alright? And I do apologize if I'm not pronouncing these right, or mispronouncing. I do apologize, but I'll try to do the best I can, okay? And you'll understand why I'm going to be mentioning these things, okay? So, Kan Yun readings, which are mistaken or changed readings of the kanji that have become accepted into the Japanese language, okay? Next, we have Go-un readings, right? Derived from the pronunciation used in the northern and southern dynasties of China during the 5th and 6th centuries, primarily from the speech of the capital of Jiangqing, Nanjing nowadays. It is related to Wu Chinese, okay? And lastly, we have Kan-on readings, right? Come from the pronunciation utilized during the Tang Dynasty of China in the 7th to 9th centuries, primarily from the standard speech of the capital of Shanghai. So yes, and I do apologize if I mispronounce any of those, but you'll understand why soon enough. But I wanted to actually mention those first before I really get into the video, okay? Alright. So, what is the name I'm actually going to suggest here, alright? What is the family that I think could be really interesting for Nami to be related to, alright? Well, the idea actually sort of stemmed from that Frankie video I made, where possibilities of him being related to Queen, alright? Because we got the whole Queen's Viva card and the whole this whole history backstory that seems to fit real well into him probably being the father of Frankie, which could be really interesting, okay? And I didn't realize it at first until some people basically mentioned that pretty much any One Piece character, along with either the father or the mother, they share the actual same gene as that parent, okay? Now, sure, Oda doesn't necessarily have to do this if he doesn't want to, but it's still interesting to look at, because if you're actually going to choose one of the parents along with one of the children to have the same gene as the parent, then it could be really interesting to know that, hey, that is an easy way to narrow it down, alright? Now, like I said, Oda doesn't have to do that if he does not want to, alright? But, for the sake of argument, let us actually just decide for a second and actually look at some characters with X genes that most likely Nami could be related to, alright? Now, I can't really go over every single one of them because I feel like that would get too much into context, but there's only one family name that I think could really work, and I mentioned before that I really think Nami could potentially be a D, right? And I know some people think that she's probably a Kingdom Princess. I would love that too, right? I have no problems if she was a princess. I have no problems if she was a D. Heck, I wouldn't have any problems if she was both, right? I mean, by all means, she's practically considered a goddess in some people's eyes. So it's like, hey, count that in as well, okay? But one, well, there's actually two things that could be really interesting, right? I'll go over this one first, right? Imagine how crazy it would be if Oda actually revealed that Nami and Brook are related, alright? Now, yes, the timeline in terms of, like, you know, Brook obviously can't be the father and stuff like that, because that wouldn't work out. He obviously probably couldn't even be the grandfather, but they both share X genes like that, so, I mean, that would be kind of crazy, so I don't think that's going to be the case. We do know that Brook did mention before that he did, like, during his past like that, he was a battle leader during a certain convoy of a certain kingdom and like that. Unfortunately, I don't think it was ever mentioned what the kingdom was. We know Brook came from the West Blue, I believe, but I don't think, as far as I can remember, if I'm guessing this right, I don't think it was ever mentioned where that kingdom was. It might have been the West Blue, right? It might have been, but it could have been another, another sea that we just never knew about. So, yeah, to be honest, I don't really think it's going to be the case. But I just wanted to throw that in there just for the sake that, hey, I mentioned that. So, yeah. But this is actually the real idea I want to suggest here, right? And it's actually pretty interesting, and it feels like it actually makes sense. But it's also not exactly a perfect fit, alright? It's good, really good, enough to be enjoyable, but it feels like it's just not that right one, alright? And I'd still be okay with it regardless, okay? And this is the name that I would like to suggest for Nami's true name, right? A name that would make her related to Cloud Clover, better known as Professor Clover. Yes, Professor Clover, or the same one who was basically searching the void history and all that kind of stuff. The same one who was, basically assassinated and stuff like that at the whole demise of Ohara's backstory and stuff like that. Robin's backstory, Ohara being Buster called on all of that. So yes, that Clover. Now, yes, I know some people will probably be mentioning very carefully in the comments, so I'm going to say it right here. I know for a fact that it is impossible for Clover to actually be Nami's father, right? The timelines would not match up. However, what I would like to basically suggest as a counterpoint to that is that, okay, he might not be able to be the father, but maybe we can throw in a grandfather or great-grandfather as a possibility. I feel like those two options could actually work, right? Yes, the father could not work, okay? And the reason for this is because Clover died when he was 85, right? Basically, Ohara's incident happened 22 years ago, okay? Nami was born 20 years ago, okay? So the timelines wouldn't match up because Clover would have already been dead by the time Nami would even be conceived or born. Now, yes, we should mention here that there is a slight possibility that Nami's birth has basically been altered, not altered, but in the sense of like, July 3rd is not the day she was actually born. But I think 2-year gap is a little bit too much. So even if the date is off, I don't think it would be off by 2 years, okay? Alright. Well, let's get into the suggestions of the name, and I'll go over every detail of everything I like about it, okay? Alright. So this is the name that I decided for Nami, right? This is the name that I decided to link her to Clover, alright? Cloud Ran. Once again, that's Cloud Ran. Or if you're going to translate the R in English, it would be Cloud Land. But, I like Cloud Ran, alright? I mean, alright. And here's some interesting things about it, okay? First off, you can see Cloud-D ran as a pun, alright? Or a bit of a wordplay, okay? Put the translations together, and you basically get basically a bit of a wordplay on Cloudland, alright? The only difference is you're removing the D at the end of Cloudland, okay? So Cloud-D ran can literally be like a pun on Cloudland, alright? Just without the final D at the end of land, okay? Other things to look at is this, right? Did you know that ren can also be another reading for egg, particularly an ovum, right? And we all know how Nami has her weather egg abilities, right? The weather eggs that she uses to feed Zeus, right? Not to mention how funny it is that on Egghead, Nami's, one thing you look at is Nami's bounty, right? The 366 literally is like spelling the word egg, alright? Other thing that you can look at is basically the whole Egghead arc, where we got, basically the whole ordeal of like the weather technology and stuff like that Vegapunk is basically perfected and stuff like that. And to even further add that on, the fact that Vegapunk even knows Herodis, the same island where Nami was sent to during the 2-year training arc, okay? Now, yes, this doesn't necessarily suggest or prove that she's related to Clover because of that, but it was during the Egghead arc that we basically got revealed Clover's name, alright? Okay. So, first off, I need to go over this, okay? So, you're all familiar with the name Nami, meaning wave in Japanese, right? Well, the kanji for Nami, for wave, is this one right here, okay? And then there's another one below it, which also means Nami itself, okay? Both of these kanjis can mean Nami. However, the bottom one is something I want to go over a little bit more, okay? Because, interesting enough, this other kanji has another reading of itself, okay? You remember what I mentioned at the beginning of the video when I was talking about those other readings? Well, this is actually something interesting because this kanji right here, basically being a reading of Nami, when you read it in the Kanyu reading, it can be read as Ran. Some other interesting things to actually add in there for, a bit of a bonus, since like that could really make sense, is this, alright? Ran can also be a reading for Orchid, but it can also be a reading for Indigo, which, when using the Goon reading, or even the Canon reading, right? Can you believe that? Ran can actually mean Orchid, or even Indigo, right? Perfect! It just makes sense! You're all probably wondering, what does Indigo have to do anything with Nami, alright? Even Orchid, alright? What does any of that have to do with Nami? On the surface, really nothing. But this idiot, who is me in my past life, in terms of your guys' language, that would be just the other night, alright? But here he goes on, just ruining everything for something I want to talk about in another video. So, completely ignore him, pretend you didn't hear that, and that will come in the next video. Thank you. You all have a great day. Goodbye. Hey, I can open my mouth now. What the hell was that? What the hell was that? Do you guys know something? Did any of you guys see anything? Anybody at all see anything? Did you hear anything? Alright. I got my eye on you. Yeah, I got my eye on you. Whoever that was. Feel free to laugh if you think that was terrible. I just thought I'd try to do something funny. other things to actually add in that could be really interesting is this, alright? So we all know how Nami, for Oda chose Nami's nationality in the real world to be Sweden, right? Sweden is basically one of the Nordic countries that's basically linked to the whole Viking Norse mythology and Scandinavian histories, okay? And Ran is also, has links to Norse mythology, right? Ran is a goddess and personification of the sea who has 9 daughters who personify waves, alright? So, yes. That's basically everything to really go over on the name Ran. And obviously with the fact that, cloudD Ran, you can see it's a bit of a pun on cloudy egg. The fact that Ran could be another translation of egg in that regards. Right? Obviously Cloudland is a very interesting thing in itself. So, yes, it is craziness like that. It is a bit insane. But I really think that this could actually be really interesting here. Now, yes, the whole idea of Clover basically being Nami's father would not make sense, right? However, we might be able to make a suggestion that he can't be the father, but he could probably be the grandfather or great-grandfather, right? And sure, there's no evidence to actually support that, but that also doesn't necessarily mean that there's no evidence to basically disprove it as well, okay? Because it is still a possibility until Oda actually confirms it if he wants to, right? Now, how can this be, alright? Well, let's remember, in Clover's past, alright? Yes, we are aware that Clover probably grew up in Hera, or, the whole situation with Hera's incident and what happened, the whole, the whole searching and all that kind of stuff. However, we do know from basically Clover's past that he has basically traveled around the world before, right? Basically learning and searching history and all that kind of stuff, right? And he's basically been caught by the Marines before, but he's managed to escape, right? So, with this whole adventures and journey out there, out on the blue sea, I probably at all wouldn't find it surprising or necessarily, maybe not really surprising, but I probably wouldn't find it necessarily impossible for Oda to even suggest or say that Clover managed to, basically get in with a woman that's like that, right? Basically, be with a woman that's like that, or bear a child in that kind of sense, start a family and say that. However, eventually leaving to pursue his dreams and continue on. Maybe not even realizing that he had an actual child, right? Maybe not even realizing that he managed to get a woman pregnant, right? So, and then maybe that could be a situation here, right? And that could even add in another idea to the fire, is like, what could have happened to Nami's kingdom, right? The Oikon kingdom, right? So imagine if we get a scenario that's revealed that the world government found out that Clover had a child, right? And then maybe, for the sake of it, that they were too afraid that maybe Clover passed on some knowledge to his offspring, right? Whether it be a father or a daughter, is really up in the air. Whether it be a son or a daughter, I gotta be very careful on that. Is still up in the air. It probably doesn't really matter at this point, but whatever which one is, that could actually lead to a good suggestion on why the world government would actually send Marines there. However, I also don't think that would make much sense, because technically speaking, I highly doubt the world government would be sending like Bellemir's Marine troops to wipe the island off, right? If they're going to do anything, they would probably just send like an admiral like a Kainu, or they would just send CP agents, alright, like CP9 agents. So yeah, I don't believe for a second, so that logically wouldn't make any sense, right? And truth be told, even at this point in time, even if it is a good idea, it really wouldn't make sense for the narrative of the world government and stuff like that. I mean, the fact is they have like Robin to deal with, who basically is already more well in tone with the whole idea of the boy history and that kind of learning stuff like that. So reality is, Nami wouldn't even fit that bill, right? But even if that's the case, there is one thing it could actually work with, right? Even if it's not part of the world government and eyeing her because of like afraid that what she might actually learn, that's kind of ridiculous, because Robin already fits that bill, right? And I understand that. But another idea we can actually throw in here is not really the idea of the learning history bit, but the idea of the bond between Nami and Robin even closer, right? The fact of, basically Robin learned that Nami was probably the last descendant of Clover. She might be more willing to feel protective of, like, keeping Clover's last line alive, right? Maybe something to, like, basically repay a debt, or maybe, like, feel sorry for something that she was not able to do herself, right? Now, yes, the bond between Nami and Robin is already pretty strengthened, good enough like that, and they basically consider themselves to be like sisters amongst sisters among arms and stuff like that. So, even if it wasn't be the case, I really do think it can still work for a very beneficial cause, right? And having the moment, like even in Egghead, where you basically saw how Robin was willing to actually basically bring death amongst the Seraphim S-Shark Jinbei. And then even in the end of the Egg arc, when Saturn was basically plowing through the Straw Hat asses like that, and you had like Nami there basically like ducking in and basically, protecting Robin, even shouting to everyone else like, protect Robin! Protect Robin! And you really get the idea that these two are really bonding with each other, right? And it would be interesting if that could even lead to something to where we discover that Nami herself is related to Clover, or is the last line of Clover, or then maybe Robin would feel very comfortable with that, feel very dedicated to actually do something, and not in the sense of like saying that she doesn't ever do anything, but feel the need is like, I need to make sure that Clover's granddaughter is alive, right? That kind of scenario, okay? So that's everything I want to suggest. That's everything I want to talk to on this whole idea, right? So if you like the name I suggested for Nami in this case, feel free to let me know in the comment section below, right? If you enjoyed the video and enjoyed the content I made, please let me know by smashing the like button, alright? Subscribe to the channel, hit notification bells, and I do apologize for my lack of speeching and stuff like that. I know it's kind of crazy. I'm sort of coming down with a bit of a cough and stuff like that. So I've been trying to do my best, and I basically just took some like medicine not too long ago, so I'm still feeling like I'm still feeling like a lot of saliva building up and stuff like that. It's kind of like driving me crazy, right? But luckily I'm off tomorrow, so that, so I'll probably do the editing on this video in the mornings like that. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here. I'm going to get ready for bed, and I'll do the editing on this video tomorrow, and I'll upload it as soon as I can, alright? So thank you so much for joining me. You all have a great day. Goodbye now.